What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with a lot of good-looking people. That's all I got to say. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, this is one of our live coaching calls. We do this every Friday. We're just, hey, we do it 3 times a week already for just the members of Heartletics, where they can hop on the Zoom chat, ask questions to me, to the other coaches that's on here, and it's a lot of fun. And every Fridays, we always do this kind of like open Q&A style, but I figured, hey, there's always a lot of value that we go over inside of these, group chats. Might as well start recording them. And, today we're going to be talking a lot of good topics, actually, specifically on how to lose belly fat. And I know that's something that everybody wants to lose, right? Everybody wants to get rid of the dad bod and, ditch the dad bod. We're going to be going over some tips on that. And then we're going to be going into specifically how to make adjustments. Let's say like you're somebody that, I don't know, you're watching some YouTube videos with some workouts and, follow through with the meal plan, but then you get stuck, right? So let's kind of help you out in a sense of like what that might look like in terms of your metabolism, but most importantly, how to make adjustments, when to make adjustments. That way you can progress on this fat loss journey. Before we get started with that, let's obviously share some wins. Coach Mark, feel like going first?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share this week the fact that this Sunday is my wife Jen and I's 22nd wedding anniversary.
Wow, happy anniversary!
And we're going into our 22nd year healthier than we've probably ever been in our entire lives, thanks to Heartletics. So a lot to be happy about.
I love that. Coach Dennis, what about you, brother? You want to go next with some wins?
Sure. So my win for this week, and probably most of all, is I told my boss yesterday that I'm either going part-time or we're done because I can't handle the stress. So my own personal sanity is more important than the dollar. And that's something that I've learned from this program and being with you, Coach Joe. So that's my big win.
I love that, man. That's hard, man. That's huge, though. And just know, hey, you got all the support, right, and everything from the Heartletics family, man. We all got you back. Coach Jimmy, what about you, brother? Any wins?
Yeah, I think I have one.
Yeah, let's hear
it. The other day was my a year since my call with you.
Yeah,
and I hit my goal this week of getting down to 300 pounds. So that was a good win, I guess.
Awesome. I mean, first off, I think good could be upgraded in terms of great right there. But second, for somebody tuning in for the very first time and they don't know you, right? They just heard that you got to 300 pounds. What'd you start off at? 430 pounds.
Woo! That's amazing.
Well, that's a big chunk of change right there, man.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole person. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Good work, brother. I'm proud of you, man.
Thanks.
Coach Brian, what about you, man? Let's hear some wins, Brian.
Oh, great first week at my new job. Wonderful. Look, some great guys to work with. I've got an incredible supervisor that's, getting all my stuff out of the way that I have to, prereqs and stuff like that, and getting me my equipment and personal protective equipment, all that stuff. It's just all coming together. It was a really laid back group. I'm happy. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. All the PPE supplies you need and whatnot, right?
I'm sorry?
All the PPE supplies? Like
yes.
Safety materials and all that?
Yeah.
I'm into the lingo, brother. I used to work at that.
Oh, that's right.
I used to sell all that industrial supplies.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, man. Brett, what about you, brother? Let's hear a win from you.
I would say this week my win is I got hit with some kind of virus or flu or cold or whatever it is, right? And it kind of knocked me on my ass. But having the mental strength to just be like, okay, that's cool. So I probably should take it easy on the working out and everything. I don't have the energy for that, but let's work on the mind, right? Do some reading, do some studying. And I have no craving for comfort foods. I'm still crushing the nutrition, right? And that's a huge win because I don't even want it. I just want to keep hitting the nutrition. So it's good for me.
Awesome.
It's crazy how just keeping those habits, Brett, has just became the norm, right? At first, obviously, you can probably, agree with this. It's probably hard and difficult at first to hit your protein goal, hit your calories, right? You never done it before. But then eventually it becomes almost like second nature, to where now, even though you can't work out and, kind of hit with, some adversity, you're like, okay, well, hey, let's pivot. Let's make some adjustments and still move forward in the right direction, man. So kudos to you. Cool. And guys, I would say a big win for me. Most guys that hate training legs, I love training legs. My legs don't grow, but yet I still love training them. I could not do that for the last 2 weeks because I got injured in jiu-jitsu and I had this thigh contusion that turned into like this weird hematoma thing that was super painful, could barely walk. I was able to work out today with my legs for the first time, a real good leg workout. And so I'm happy about that. But let's take things, a little bit of a twist, right? Because obviously nobody came on here to listen to, us talk about, some wins. Everybody kind of tuned in to hear about, okay, how do we burn belly fat, right? How do we make adjustments, when to make adjustments? Let's get to the juice. And I'm going to start off, guys, with talking about, I don't know, in terms of losing belly fat. Everybody wants to lose the belly fat, right? That's the reality. But like, here's another reality. You're never going to see some guy with like fat face, fat arms, and six-pack abs, right? It's just like, that's the reality that people have to understand. A lot of people also understand that, like, we're in terms of discipline, growth, hard work, right? That builds character. You go to the gym, you work out, you build calluses on your hands, right? Well, so many guys these days, they're mentally, emotionally weak. They have no calluses on their heads or their hearts, right? And so they just want the quick wins, right? Like, hey, let me lose belly fat. And typically, right, most guys type that into Google, they'll see like, oh, don't eat carbohydrates, or just do a whole bunch of running, or intermittent fasting, right? All these different things, but they don't understand that at the end of the day, right, to burn body fat, it's the easiest thing in the world, right? The hardest thing in the world is to be disciplined enough to stick to it. Why do you think, guys, we sent over these wristbands, right? I'm trying to pull mine down so I can see. And it says on there, consistency is key. It's for a reason. Like, at the end of the day, burning belly fat shouldn't be hard, but it also shouldn't be a chore. It should be something that's just in your daily practices. I think the biggest person on here that had one of the most amazing transformations, honestly, is you, Mark, in terms of like where you were to where you are right now, because of that mindset shift, where I'm not talking about the physical changes, right? I'm talking more about, man, somebody really changed his life because of that, right? And I remember, right, you made the post inside of the community group. You said, I don't quote me on what you said as far as the age, but you said, hey, at X amount of years, I never would expect to be happy to get off work so I can go home and work out. You remember that?
I 100% remember that. It was a complete change of anything that had been in my life before.
Yeah. So let's keep on going with that, right? Was it easy, right? In the very beginning, like working out or like trying to eat healthy, or be honest, like, did it feel a little bit overwhelming at first until it kind of got a little bit more easier?
Oh yeah. I mean, in the beginning, it's all new. It's a lot at once and it takes some getting used to, but I think, if you have the mindset that you don't have to nail everything 100% from day one, right? It's a process. So you get used to what you're doing. You slowly build up things like, your protein habit, your workouts, et cetera, so that, you get from point A to point B gradually. You can't expect to just start off at day one and clobber everything.
Yeah. You can't expect to, day one of driving school to be, out on the racetrack, right? Formula F1 or whatever. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, there's levels to this, but most guys, they just want the quick wins, right? But they don't understand that through that growth, through that work, right? It's hard. Anything in life is hard when you've never done it before, right? You're stepping outside your comfort zone. It's the unknown. But then what happens, right? You feel like you have this huge chip on your shoulder, Mark, because now you have the knowledge, right? Now you have the easy applicable skills that you do day in and day out. We call these habits, right? To where you can even go on a cruise, eat whatever it is that you want, and lose weight when you come home, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was, an amazing time. I enjoyed myself. I didn't, really feel limited, but I just knew how to eat sensibly, how to eat right, how to do the right combinations, because I had learned it over the course of the program. When you talk about guys who want to, lose just the body fat, it doesn't work in that way. It's a complete process where, it's like you have a boy in a pool, right? Dipping a cup into the pool to take out water. The water doesn't go down just at the spot that he's taking the water out. The whole pool, is going down gradually. And the same thing with body fat. You have to look at it as you're working on your whole body, your whole mind, and everything all at once. And that fat goes down gradually across your whole body. So if you kind of just focus just on that one specific area, you're going to drive yourself crazy because you're not going to see it in that way.
For sure. And that's exactly what guys do, right? They cut out their carbs. They do intermittent fasting. They do all this cardio and like a million sit-ups a day. And then every single day, right, they go up and they look in the mirror and say, do I have a six-pack yet? But they're not seeing that, they're losing some weight and there's some fat in maybe their arms, maybe their face, right? And in reality, we don't even see those changes because we see ourselves each and every day. The changes that happen, they're so small. It's typically, right, when you look back past several weeks, when you're like, start day, and this is why we do our progress photos. That way we can actually see that, but most guys, they want the quick wins because they don't understand grit, right? They don't understand hard work, but most importantly, like what it brings to that, it builds discipline. It builds character. So like, we're always going to go over some tips, right? Here's my tip. If anybody's trying to burn body fat that's listening for the first time, specifically belly fat, okay? Don't rush the process. Trust the process. Work on your mentality, right? Learn how to become mentally and emotionally stronger because at the end of the day, right, it takes nothing more than just consistency. That's it, right? Focus on being more mentally stronger and not giving up. Because so many people, they go in, they want to see the results. They don't see the results immediately, or something happens where they hit a little plateau. And good thing we're talking about when to make adjustments here in a little bit. But something happens where guys go back to their old ways because they're not mentally strong. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're going to quit on a program, you're going to quit on a nutrition plan, you're going to quit on, clean up after yourself or, whatever the case may be. Well, guess what? That's feeding into your subconscious mind. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Next thing you know, like you start going to the gym, but I want to skip a little bit, right? And then, skipping one day eventually leads into two. Now we're back in our old ways. That's like the biggest reason why our program is successful, I would say, is because we have that accountability. We all make sure that, hey, if there's somebody that's fallen off, how do we pull them right back on? But I want to hear from you guys, coaches. What are some other tips, right, on how to burn belly fat? Because I feel like we talk about this all the time.
Stress management and proper sleep, recovery as a whole, but stress management and proper rest and sleep time.
Yeah.
But I'm a big example of that. When I was working that swing shift, Joe, I know you remember looking at my trends, and you could tell when I was rolling onto or off of a graveyard shift back and forth, you could see the effect that lack of sleep versus being able to sleep through an entire night and work a regular day shift, the effect that had and the impact that had. And you could see when my body weight and body fat would respond accordingly. And then, and I think a lot of people also see stress as something they feel when they feel stressed. But I learned also that stress can be just a change in routine. And you not really feel, I'm not stressed. No, your body's stressed and your cortisol levels up because there's a change in this routine or a change in this diet, or just something minor that happens, throws you a little bit out of whack, a little bit off your game or off your routine, and your cortisol levels up. You may not feel stressed. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But your body's reacting to that, and that's going to slow down and impact your fat burning as well.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. A lot of guys think that stress is just like, stuff with the spouse at home, stuff with the kids, or like work. But there's so much more to that. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're under stress. If you're not eating properly, you're underneath a lot of stress. Why do you think you're underneath stress, guys, if you're not eating enough? All right, let's break it down real simple. Well, if you're not eating enough food, your body's not getting enough nourishment in, right? Nutrition to, let's say, withstand and hold on to that muscle. So now, guess what? Your body's going to start losing that muscle, slowing down your metabolism, but that's very stressful on the body. It doesn't want to lose its metabolism, but it's not getting enough proper food. Little things like this, Brian, that not like guys think about, you know? So I'm really glad that you said that about the stress and the sleep, because that could definitely help anybody burn belly fat. Jimmy, what about you, brother? What are some tips on how to burn belly fat?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest part, aside from what Coach Brian said with the mental aspect, is the nutrition. You know, there's really a lot of guys, including myself, had no idea or lost when it comes to nutrition. And you read those things, low carb, and you think you're doing the right thing. You know, but when I got into Heartletics and started to learn about the thermo effect of food and drinking the water, I mean, it really started to make sense to me. The way it's presented, the way we learn it. And once you do learn it, it's like, this is so simple. How did I not know this my whole life? It's crazy. Like, I just have to eat, you know, a little more protein. I have to, you know, have this many calories. So once you learn what to do, you're taught what to do, it's very simple to sustain it. You know, learning that thermo effect of food, just getting your protein in, drinking your water, and just, you know, trying to stay within your calories. Don't go overboard. You eat the stuff. I mean, we can all eat the stuff we love. It's just in moderation, you know, a little bit of planning and fitting it in there, and be consistent. Be consistent hitting your protein and your water, and you're going to see that fat go down week after week.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And if anybody's listening for the first time and they're like, you know, being sent over this podcast, we have all the materials over at Heartletics. We have a free fat loss guide, a free coaching video going over, you know, what Brian said, what Marcus said, but also what Coach Jimmy has said. And it's just easy, right? 7 essential fat loss habits, very easy to do. But while we got Brian on here, right, I want to touch base on this, because you help out big time with like the weekly check-ins, making sure that, you know, and maybe you could tell everybody about how that applies and why it's very important, right? Because you can not only see as a coach walking through the kind of their shoes, but also when to make adjustments, all the data that we have as coaches to ensure the results for the clients. But let's talk about when to make adjustments. Let's say, hey, somebody's been doing all the right things mentally, right? They heard my podcast and they're like, I got this, right? I'm like Brett now, right? Just the will to win every single day, right? The mindset of a champion. And they still need some help, right? Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're at 200 pounds. They don't know what to do next. Brian, in terms of, you know, check-in process goes and everything, tell us a little bit more about that and how to make adjustments.
Yeah, well, we've got a form that the client's going to fill out, and we're going to go over that form. And in that form, we'll look at their sleep habits, and we will see if that's up or down, or, you know, if it's if we have a range of how many hours sleep. We'll look at their hydration. We'll look at their nutrition and how well they've stayed within the calorie range and how well they've hit the protein. And we're going to look at all these different aspects and make sure that they've not veered too far from certain things, or that they are adequately getting enough sleep and hydration. We want to make sure all those things are in line. And then possibly, you know, what they may be dealing with. We ask them some questions about what may be going on in their life. You know, if there's some stressors, if what's going on with work, you know, maybe they don't like the workouts and they weren't able to get through those. We're going to make sure all those things line up first. And if all things, they're doing everything right, all that's perfect, and there's not any, you know, things out of routine, stress, it's not an issue, then we would look at their calorie intake. And if we've got that where we think we need it, we may just first and foremost up the activity first, give them a little bit more increased activity to put them in more of an energy deficit. We don't want to mess with reducing calories right out of the gate, and that be the first thing we approach and the first step we take towards change, because you don't want to take food away from guys. Guys want to eat, they want their food, right? Yeah. So the first step is going to be probably to increase some activity and make sure they're getting in their NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, some activity above and beyond the regular workouts. Beyond that, if we don't see any changes after that, we may just manipulate the macros, maybe increase protein, pull some carbs or pull some fats, depending on how they're doing their workouts, and add some protein adjustment and increase protein. You're like, what? You want to increase things? Yeah. We're not going to just take your food away and just automatically cut your calories, put you in a deficit. No, It's just not the way the body works. And that was really fun to learn and be able to do now myself. And
pause. Let's talk about that, right? Because you just said that was really fun to learn, right? Jimmy also talked about learning things differently. Tell everybody, right? So what did you learn, right? On knowing exactly what you just said about, how it applies in the body, how easy it is that it applies.
Yeah, well, I know I was not the first client to argue with you when you wanted to increase my protein or increase calories when I was trying to lose weight, Coach. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah, but it was really neat to find out, like, it was Coach Jimmy that was just mentioning the thermic effect of food and how increasing our protein intake can help us burn fat just in the digestion and processing of the protein. That's really simple and easy, and we can just eat more meat. Yes, please, right here. So yeah, that was fun stuff to learn. And just increasing activity. And I don't have to be in a big puddle of sweat kind of activity. We can just do some increasing and getting out and taking a walk, some moderate activity. Yeah, that was really eye-opening. Yeah. And then after we, if macros adjustments then don't remedy the plateau, for lack of a better word, then we would look at decreasing calories. Let's say we're getting ready to closer to the end of the 12-week transformation, and we're wanting to really finalize that last bit of fat burning and get a client to a certain, then we would definitely take a step down and put them in a little bit of a cut, for lack of a better explanation, and take their calories down and keep their protein where it's at. So they're really not going to feel like they're starving, and that upper protein intake is going to keep them from being so hungry. And it's just it's such a natural, balanced effect. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And you said it best, man. Like, increase, your activity first, right? If you're somebody that's, struggling right now, dealing with the plateau, you feel like you're not progressing, see if you can actually, before that, right, make sure that everything is squared away, right? Brian talked about stress, water intake, sleep, the 70 essential fat loss habits that anybody can just download at heartletics.com, basically. Once that's in the line, then yes, here's how to make adjustments. Increase something, right? It might be even just increasing the weights, aka progressive overload, right? That small little stimulus effect could have a big change into seeing better progression. Right now, in terms of, if you're just looking at progression as just a number on the scale, you're going to be disappointed, right? Like how we view things as, coaches, we want to see body fat, we want to see progress photos. That's in terms of progression, but also a look and a feel, somebody might not lose any body fat, but then all of a sudden, like, they feel way more energized, feel way more stronger. And guess what? What happens with that? They feel more confident, so it's just like, you got to see week over week what kind of, how they're feeling. But yeah, increase the activity, make an adjustment with the macronutrients. I love how you said that, because typically that always helps somebody, right? Just increase that protein a little bit more. And for anybody that's brand new, just literally listen, right? At least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You stick with that, you're playing it safe. If you get more, and for sure, right? But like, make these small changes. And then the last one is, okay, hey, let's say you're doing all those things right. You got everything monitored. Yeah, cut down the calories just a little bit, but don't, jump the gun, because most guys, they hear cut down the calories. And this is where most guys screw themselves and slow down the metabolism. They go from, let's say, 2,500 calories down to 1,500 calories, right? Way too big of a deficit. And I might do something cool here if we got time at the end. But long story short, like when it comes down to cutting out the calories, make it small, right? Week over week, right? Keep it very simple. Take out anywhere from like 100 to maybe 300 calories max, and just see what happens, right? If let's say you go from 2,000 calories down to 1,800 calories, see what happens. If let's say that first week you don't lose any weight, okay, fine. See what happens again at 1,800 calories, because ultimately it's going to take time to progress. We got a little bit of time on here. So Mark, I'm going to put you on the last, right, on what we want to talk about at the end. We can either do a little outro and kind of go over like some more tips on, when to make adjustments, or I could help these guys out and give them, obviously you saw the new videos that we made inside of our coaching program. I can give everybody right here the golden nugget when it comes to calories and fat loss right here if you want me to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you want me to?
Oh, drop that wisdom.
Got it, baby. Got it. So for everybody that's watching us on YouTube, Facebook, hey, welcome. We're going to give you literally how fat loss works and applies in the body. If you guys are listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, come over to YouTube. While you're there, watch this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get started. So this cup right here, right? Let me turn my ring light to the side a little bit. It's too bright. This cup right here, it's got some water in it, okay? But let's say right here, this middle line, okay? This is what's called your maintenance, right? Your maintenance. And the water represents calories, okay? The cup is your body. So that maintenance line right there, you're not gaining weight, you're not, losing weight. You're just putting in the water, aka the calories in, right? And it's around there. You're staying there at maintenance. Now at maintenance, you got this threshold, right? It's called a surplus, okay? That could be anywhere from like 1 to 500 calories above their maintenance, okay? In that surplus, I like to say that's called your wiggle room, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to guarantee someone's going to say, hey, if you eat in a calorie surplus, you're going to gain muscle. They might not even be in the gym at all, right? So it's just like, think about that as just your wiggle room. But now here's the thing. If I was going to dump this water, right, all into this cup, it's going to spill over. That's how calories work in the body when it comes to putting out body fat. Now, here's the biggest thing. Most guys, they don't have a problem with way too much eating. They think the issue is portion control. No. My friends, this is how it works in the body, how most people struggle with having a slow metabolism. Here's their maintenance, right? At least where they're supposed to be, right? This all the way to the bottom of the cup. This is what's called your deficit. It's the same thing as what's called the opposite, right? Which is a surplus. You're increasing the calories. Over here, you're decreasing the calories from your maintenance. Anywhere from 1 to, let's say, 500 calories. Now, Mark, you watched the video. What do most guys do that really sabotages their results and actually slows down their metabolism?
They go way lower than they need to.
Yes, most guys are all the way over here. They hear calories in versus calories out, and they're not putting in enough food. It's the same way of like how it works in a car. It needs gas to get from point A to point B. Your body needs food. Food equals fuel. So it's just like if you're not getting your body plenty of protein, carbs, and fats, your macronutrients, your body's going to say, well, hey, we don't need this. Let's start getting rid of it. And what's it going to get rid of first? Well, guess what? Your body fat, right? It's not like we're in the gym. It's not like we're eating protein. We don't need it. So your body's going to start getting rid of it. What happens when your lean muscle, right, goes down? Your metabolism slows down. What happens from that? Increase of body fat. What happens from that? Usually low levels of testosterone. So lacking sex drive, lacking energy, lacking confidence, right? All these things. And then eventually underlying health conditions like high blood pressure, high cholesterol. We see that, these trends all the time, unfortunately. And so if you're somebody that's listening for the very first time, here's how it all works, right? How you can easily burn belly fat and make adjustments, okay? One, make sure you're eating enough of the right foods, right? No one's going to say, eat this food or eat this food, just enough of the right foods. What are the right foods? A balanced diet when it comes to protein, carbs, and fats, plain and simple. Don't overeat, right? Don't undereat. Now, if you have a slow metabolism, you already, your maintenance is way down here now, go listen to the podcast that me and Coach Jimmy did on how to improve your metabolism. Because that's a 30-minute conversation right there that we just don't have time for today. So learn how to eat properly. The second thing is download the Fat Loss Guide at Heartletics. Like that's going to go over those 7 essential habits. And just like Coach Brian said, like sometimes you don't need to cut out your calories if you feel like you're struggling, right? Feel like you make an adjustment. If you have everything boiled down, well, guess what? Try to increase the needs. What we like to talk about is just try to get more steps in. It's very easy to do. It's very easy to recover from that too. If you're going to add a whole another training day or do something crazy, backflips and burpees, it might be harder to recover, And then the next thing is just change the macronutrients around. Maybe decrease the fats or the carbs, see what works best for you, and then increase the protein with the rest. And then lastly, decrease the calories. Brian, I'll give you the official outro call, man. What do you want to say to anybody out here that's tuning in for the very first time here in the Heartletics podcast or watching this on YouTube before we wrap things up?
Don't delay. I say it every week. Don't delay. The perfect time really is now. If you're going to sit and wait for some things to change for the perfect time, it's not coming. It's not going to happen. Now's the time to invest in yourself. There's no better way to show others you love them and to care for them, the ones that depend on you, than to make yourself a priority. Now's the time. Invest in yourself.
I love it, brother. With that being said, guys, this has been Coach Joe with a lot of beautiful people on today's Heartletics podcast. And I hope you guys all have a beautiful day, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.